5th Street, morning rush. Marcus Hill power walks toward the day labor corner. Miss that pickup and there's no work, no money, no food. At 17, homeless and down to his last chances, every step feels like it matters. He's 3 blocks away when he sees him. A man is crumpled against a storefront, half sitting, half falling. Gray hair matted, head slumped sideways, one arm twisted under him at a bad angle. His lips are turning blue. People flow around him like water around a rock. A jogger veers into the street without slowing. A shopkeeper glances out, mutters, probably drunk, and starts arranging a display. A woman in heels pulls her child closer and hurries past. Marcus slows. His stomach clenches, not just from hunger. He knows what happens if he's late. No spot in the truck. No cash. No dinner. He could walk past. Everyone else is. But as he's about to keep moving, the man's fingers twitch. Just barely. Marcus stops. For a heartbeat, he watches the wave of commuters part around them. Then he steps out of the current and kneels beside the stranger, his thin backpack sliding off one shoulder. "Sir?" he says softly. "Can you hear me?" No response. Up close, the man looks worse. Expensive dark suit. Polished leather shoes. Watch that probably costs more than everything Marcus owns. But his face is gray, his breathing shallow and ragged. His lips are tinged blue. Marcus's hands shake as he slides his only jacket, a cheap windbreaker, torn at one cuff, under the man's head to lift his airway. He's seen that in a video once. His fingers press at the man's neck, clumsy but careful, searching for a pulse. For a moment he feels nothing. That faint, uneven. "Help!" Marcus calls, looking up. "Somebody call an ambulance." A businessman strides past, phone pressed to his ear, eyes fixed dead ahead. A woman in yoga pants jogs by, earbuds in, not even glancing over. "Excuse me." Marcus calls to a delivery driver pushing a dolly stacked with boxes. "This man needs help. Can you call 911? The guy barely slows. "Not my problem, kid." The bells over the shop door jangle. A heavy-set man in an apron steps out, already scowling. "What's going on out here?" he snaps. "You bothering my customers?" "This man collapsed," Marcus answers, keeping his voice respectful. "He needs an ambulance." The shop owner crosses his arms. "He's probably drunk. Happens all the time down here. You need to move along before I call the cops." "He's not drunk," Marcus says, firmer now. "Look at him. Something's really wrong." The owner's eyes narrow. "I don't need some homeless kid telling me what's what. You trying to rob him? Is that it?" Heat flares in Marcus's chest, but he swallows it back. Getting angry never helps. Not for people like him. "I'm trying to help," he says quietly. "Please. Just call 911. The man snorts, mutters something about kids these days, and disappears back into his shop, letting the door swing shut. Marcus stares after him for half a second. Then he looks back at the man, whose chest barely rises under the tailored suit. "Sir," Marcus whispers, leaning closer. "Hold on, okay? Just hold on." He scans the sidewalk again. A teen about his age slows, phone in hand. "You got a phone?" Marcus asks. "Can you call?" The kid raises it, but instead of dialing, he snaps a picture. "This is gonna blow up," the teen mumbles, thumbs already typing, and walks away. Marcus's jaw locks so tight it hurts. People don't even see each other anymore, he thinks. Just content. He forces his hands steady and checks the man's wrist again. The pulse is still there, thin but present. As his fingers adjust the man's jacket, something small and cold presses against his knuckle. A coin. Heavy metal. He glimpses an eagle engraved in gold before shoving it back into the breast pocket. His fingertips brush paper, a folded photograph. For a split second, he slides it out just enough to see. Young soldiers in desert camo, arms flung over each other's shoulders, squinting into harsh sun. The man in the middle is younger, but unmistakably the one lying here. Smiling like the world makes sense. Marcus tucks the photo back exactly where it was. "Please," he calls again, voice hoarse, "someone call an ambulance." A woman in scrubs finally slows, eyes flicking from Marcus to the man on the sidewalk. She immediately pulls out her phone. "I'm calling 911, she says. "What happened?" I don't know," Marcus answers. "Found him like this. Breathing but barely." She drops to her knees on the other side, rattling off details to the dispatcher. Unresponsive male, shallow respirations, cyanotic lips, possible cardiac event. Corner of 5th and Herald, outside Gonzales Market. For the first time all morning, Marcus feels a ripple of relief. He keeps his hand on the man's shoulder, like his touch could somehow keep the man tethered to life. Time stretches strange. He notices everything: the sharp smell of exhaust, the sticky feel of gum under his knee, the faint wheeze in the man's inhale, the way his expensive watch catches the light. "Ambulance is 3 minutes out," the woman says, still on with dispatch. "You did the right thing stopping, you know that?" Marcus doesn't answer. It hits him then: he's blown it. The day labor trucks will be gone. No pickup. No cash. No food tonight. He glances at the man's face. Someone's father, maybe. Someone's grandfather. The cost of stopping is real and immediate. Missing work. Going hungry. Risking cops. But the cost of walking by is something else entirely. Something that would eat at him in the dark. You got to hold on to your humanity, baby. That's the one thing they can't take unless you give it up yourself. Ms. Loretta's voice echoes in his head from weeks ago. Sitting on a milk crate under the overpass, her arthritic hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup. In the distance, sirens wail, growing louder, slicing through the city noise. Now people begin to slow, drawn by the official sound. Phones rise again, but this time to film. Red and white lights splash across the storefronts as the ambulance pulls up. 2 EMTs spill out, moving with brisk, practiced efficiency. "What do we got?" one asks, already snapping on gloves. Unresponsive male, the woman in scrubs recites. Shallow breathing, weak pulse, possible cardiac event, down for at least 15 minutes. BP's low, one EMT mutters, cuffing the man's arm. Pulse irregular. Pupils sluggish but reactive. Marcus backs up a step, jacket still under the man's head, feeling that awful, empty-handed uselessness. A small crowd presses in, phones pointed. The first EMT leans over to adjust the man's coat. Something heavy slips free and clinks on the pavement. He picks it up. A challenge coin. His eyes flick over it, and every line in his posture changes. "Oh my God," he breathes. "Sarah, look at this." The female EMT leans closer, then straightens almost to attention. "This is General Robert Hale," she says quietly, reverently. 4-star general, retired. Marcus doesn't know exactly what that means, but he can feel the air shift. Suddenly everything is sharp, urgent, precise. "Get the cardiac monitor. And call ahead to Memorial, tell them exactly who's coming." As they work, the man's eyelids flutter. His hand snaps out, shockingly strong, latching onto Marcus's wrist. Marcus leans in instinctively. "Sir, it's okay. Help's here." The general's eyes focus on him for a heartbeat. Lips dry and cracked, he forces out a whisper. "Don't let them forget the men." The words are ragged but deliberate. Then his eyes roll back, grip loosens, monitors start screaming. "BP dropping," Sarah calls. "We need to move now." The first EMT squeezes Marcus's shoulder. "We've got him, kid. You did good." They're loading the general onto a stretcher when the police cruiser screeches up, blue lights merging with red and white. 2 officers step out, scanning the scene. Their gaze lands on Marcus almost immediately. "What's the situation?" the first asks, hand resting near his weapon. "Medical emergency," the EMT answers curtly. 4-star general down. "We're transporting." Respect flashes in the officers' faces, for the general. For Marcus, something else flares. Suspicion. "You," the second officer barks, pointing at Marcus. "Over here." Marcus moves slowly, hands visible. He's done this dance before. "What's your involvement?" the first demands. "I found him on the sidewalk," Marcus says evenly. "Called for help, stayed till you all came." "Aha." That one sound drips disbelief. Hands on the wall. Spread your legs. Cold brick presses against Marcus's cheek as rough hands pat him down. Behind him, he hears the EMTs slam the doors, the ambulance pull away with the general inside. What's in the backpack? The second officer asks. Just my stuff. Clothes, water bottle. They make him dump it out on the concrete. A threadbare t-shirt. An empty bottle. A plastic bag with a toothbrush and sliver of soap. A worn library card, the only thing with his name on it. The woman in scrubs speaks up. Officers he was helping. I saw. Ma'am, step back. The first officer cuts her off. Police matter now. Name, the second officer asks. Marcus Hill. Address. Marcus hesitates. Feels the familiar shame rise. No fixed address, he says quietly. They exchange that look. The one that says, of course. The second leans in, voice low and hard. Listen, whatever hustle you thought you had going, drop it. This isn't some random mark. That man is a decorated military officer. You understand me? Marcus stares at the ground. I was just trying to help. Sure you were. Sarcasm twists the words. Now pack your junk and move along. If we see you hanging around here again, it's gonna be a different conversation. They watch as he gathers his scattered things. The shop owner stands in his doorway, arms crossed, smirk saying, told you so. The ambulance is gone. The crowd's already drifting away, entertainment over. The police linger just long enough to make sure Marcus leaves. 2 blocks from the corner, his stomach clenches so hard he has to stop. The day labor trucks are long gone. No work, no money, no food. The general's words echo in his head. Don't let them forget the men. He doesn't know who those men are yet. But he knows this. The city forgot him a long time ago. By late afternoon, he's back under the freeway overpass. Tents and tarps cluster in a maze of makeshift homes. Smoke from a small fire drifts under the concrete ribs overhead. The constant rumble of traffic vibrates through the ground, as familiar as his own heartbeat. You're back early, Ms. Loretta calls from her lawn chair fortress. Her hands, twisted by arthritis, clutch a crossword puzzle torn from yesterday's paper. Marcus musters a small smile. Yeah. Things didn't go as planned. Word travels fast in the encampment. By the time he reaches his tent, a patched blue tarp bungeed to a fence, 6 faces are turned his way. Jimmy, who's been under this overpass longer than anyone, steps forward. Heard you had a run-in with the cops, he says, beard twitching. You okay, kid? Marcus perches on an overturned milk crate and tells the story. The collapsed man. The expensive suit. The challenge coin. The EMTs saying, General. The officer's hands shoving him against brick. As he talks, curiosity on their faces hardens into something else. Anger. Fear. A 4-star general? Tommy whistles, pushing his cap back. That's like, the boss of everybody. You did the right thing, Ms. Loretta declares, hobbling closer. That's what matters. Ray pushes through the small crowd. He's the camp's unofficial leader, years of street life carved into the lines of his face. Being right don't keep you safe, he says flatly. Being noticed gets people like us erased. A low murmur of agreement ripples around them. They've all seen it. How visibility brings sweeps, how complaints from the right neighbors mean the city shows up with trash bags and bulldozers. They got your name? Reyes. Marcus nods. Yeah. Searched my bag too. Ray drags a hand down his face. Jesus, kid. You know what that means? They'll run you. See? No fixed address. Find that you bolted during that sweep last winter. Then we're all of the problem area. The memory hits Marcus hard. Police floodlights. Barked orders. Tents ripped down. His own panicked sprint into the dark. His stomach growls loud enough to cut through the murmuring. Everyone hears it. Everyone knows what missing work means. Here, Ms. Loretta says, shoving a slightly squashed sandwich into his hands. Church lunch program. Was saving it for later. You need it more. I can't, Ms. Lore. She closes his fingers around it. You split your breakfast with me this morning. Let an old woman pay you back. The sandwich is stale and perfect. He forces himself to eat slow, make it last. As evening falls, the first police cruiser rolls by. Slow, deliberate. Spotlights sweeping across tents without stopping. 15 minutes later, another passes. Then a third. They're letting us know they're watching, Ray mutters. All 'cause one rich man in a fancy coat fell down in the wrong place. Night deepens. Rain starts, soft at first, then harder, drumming on tarps. Marcus lies in his tent, huddled around his backpack pillow, counting the slow leaks. He'll need a new tarp soon. If there's a next tarp. Sleep doesn't come. He keeps hearing the general's rasping whisper. Don't let them forget the men. What men? The ones in the photo? The veterans in this very camp who still wear faded unit patches, clinging to some sliver of their old identity? The men who wake up screaming? The rain seeps in at his feet. His socks go damp. Voices outside murmur. Tonight's watch taking turns staying awake in case of trouble. Their talk is low and tense. Those cops did 3 laps already. Maybe it's time we pack light. Be ready to move. Just as Marcus's eyes finally start to blur, a different engine note cuts through the patter. Smooth. More than one. Headlights blast through his thin tarp, turning the blue nylon almost white. Doors thud. Footsteps crunch on gravel, too many to count. Not the heavy, sloppy gait of bored patrol cops. These are measured, coordinated. Which one of you is in charge here? A deep voice calls from outside. Ray's reply is tight. I speak for the camp. Marcus hesitates only a second before unzipping his tent. If this is another sweep, he wants to see it coming. The sight freezes him. 4 black SUVs sit idling, headlights cutting harsh cones through the mist. Around them stand about 20 men in plain clothes that can't hide their military bearing, broad shoulders, straight backs, a stillness that's somehow more alert than motion. They've formed a loose perimeter, perfectly spaced without even glancing at each other. A man with close-cropped hair steps into the light. Civilian jacket. Jeans. But authority radiates off him. Which one of you is Marcus Hill? He asks. The name hangs in the damp air. Eyes shift. Some curious. Some afraid. Marcus's heartbeat slams into overdrive. For a moment he thinks about staying quiet. Let the night swallow him. But that's not who he is. I'm Marcus Hill, he calls, stepping forward into the lights, rain beating on his hoodie. 20 pairs of eyes turn toward him. The man studies him, gaze sharp but not unkind. Son, my name is Commander Wilson. We're here on behalf of General Robert Hale. We need to talk about what happened this morning. Marcus swallows. Is the general okay? Something flickers in Wilson's eyes. Approval, maybe. He's stable, the commander says. Receiving treatment. And he specifically asked us to find you. Find me? Marcus repeats, thrown. Why? Because you did something today that dozens of others didn't. Wilson steps closer, voice lowering just enough to be private but still heard. You showed courage and compassion when most people chose convenience. Around them, the camp's tension eases by degrees. These men aren't here for a sweep. They're here for him. General Hale is a decorated 4-star, Wilson continues. Spent his life in service to this country. Yesterday, when he needed help, you were the only one who stopped. That matters to us. I just did what anyone should have done, Marcus says. Should have, Wilson agrees. But didn't. He pulls out a business card, thick and official, embossed with a military seal. The general wants to thank you personally. This number connects to his office. Someone will call tomorrow with details. Marcus takes it, feeling the weight of the cardstock between fingers still calloused from sleeping rough. The embossed eagle under his thumb feels a lot like the one he saw on that coin. Sir, he says awkwardly, I don't have a phone. Wilson nods, like he expected that. He signals with 2 fingers. One of the men steps forward, placing a small box in Marcus's hands. Prepaid cell, the commander explains. Charge. Minutes loaded. Keep it on you. Ray edges closer, eyes narrowed. You're not here to clear us out? No, Wilson answers simply. We're here to honor a request from a man who doesn't forget those who help his men. Your community is not our mission tonight. He turns back to Marcus. Get some rest, son. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Within minutes, the SEALs melt back into their vehicles with the same choreographed efficiency they arrived with. Tail lights disappear into the night, leaving the camp blinking in the sudden darkness. What kind of angel were you to that man? Ms. Loretta breathes, shuffling up to Marcus. Her eyes shine in the reflected glow of the freeway lights. Not an angel, Marcus murmurs, staring at the phone box in his hand. Just someone who didn't walk past. The camp doesn't sleep much after that. People speculate, worry, joke about the Navy SEALs who came looking for a homeless teen. Ray eventually claps Marcus on the shoulder. Whatever you did out there, he says, you dragged some big eyes onto this place. Be careful how they use you, kid. Marcus crawls back into his tent as dawn's first gray light seeps in. The new phone sits heavy in his palm. He watches the sky turn from charcoal to pale blue through pinholes in his tarp. For the first time in a long time, something like hope stirs, thin as morning mist, but real. By 8 a.m., he's standing outside Ms. Loretta's tent with her battered flip phone in hand. His own prepaid won't activate until later. 7 minutes left this month, she warns, passing it over. Use them wise. He dials the number on the card. Office of General Robert Hale. A crisp female voice answers at once. Mr. Hill? Please hold for Lieutenant Cooper. He blinks. They were expecting his call. Mr. Hill, a new voice says. From Efficient. Good morning. A vehicle will pick you up at 10:00 hours, that's 10 a.m., at the bus stop on Maple and 4th. Wear what you have. Be as presentable as you can. The general is looking forward to meeting you. Yes, sir, Marcus manages. Thank you. He has 2 hours. At the park restroom 3 blocks away, he scrubs his face and hands under cold water, washing his shirt in the thin stream from the faucet, wringing it out and putting it back on damp. He combs his hair with the small, broken comb Ray quietly presses into his palm. Found it last week, Ray says. Cleaned it up. Might help you look the part. In the cracked mirror, a lean 17-year-old looks back at him. Dark skin. Tired eyes. Clothes worn but clean. Shoulders straight. His mother's voice floats up from some buried place. Dignity's free, baby. Carry it like a crown. Back at camp, people gather to see him off. Ms. Loretta grips his hands in her knotted fingers, prays under her breath, then presses a crushed pack of crackers into his pocket. Can't meet a general on an empty stomach. The bus stop on Maple and 4th stands in front of a boarded-up deli. Marcus arrives early, heart pounding. At exactly 10 o'clock, a black SUV with government plates pulls to the curb. A young man in a suit steps out. Marcus Hill. Yes, sir. I'm Agent Taylor. If you'll come with me. The leather seats swallow him. The car smells like pine and something clean he can't name. As they pull away, Marcus watches his city from a new angle. The day labor corner glides past his window. Men he knows stand there, shoulders hunched against the wind, scanning every pickup truck. He wonders if they'll notice he isn't there today. Downtown rises up, glass and steel, people in suits with coffees and phones. Then neat neighborhoods with manicured lawns and kids' bikes tipped over in driveways, unlocked. Worlds he used to walk through from sidewalk level, now sliding by behind tinted glass. He realizes suddenly how small his world has become. A few blocks of city, the park restroom, the church soup line, the overpass. First time on a base? Agent Taylor asks as chain link fences and razor wire come into view. Yes, sir. Try to relax, Taylor says. Everyone's looking forward to meeting you. Guards check IDs. Gates swing open. They drive past perfectly trimmed lawns, marching rows of barracks, men and women in uniform moving with purpose. The SUV stops outside a low white building with a flag in front. Inside, antiseptic and floor wax hit his nose in a sharp wave. The recovery room is bright and painfully clean. General Hale sits propped up in bed, wires and tubes snaking from under his hospital gown. Even with plastic bands and monitors, his spine is straight. His gaze is razor-sharp. "Come in, son," he says. His voice is warm, threaded with command. "Please. Sit." Marcus perches on the chair, damp jeans against 2 white tile, feeling like he doesn't belong anywhere near this place. "I'm told I owe you my life," Hale says, studying him. "No, sir," Marcus answers quietly. "Anyone would have helped." A ghost of a smile tugs at the general's mouth. "But they didn't. I remember enough to know that. Dozens walked by. You were the only one who stopped." He shifts, pain flickering across his face. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus." Marcus folds his hands to keep them steady. "I'm 17. Been on my own about 8 months. Before that, it was me and my mom. Shelters, friends' couches. Off and on." "What happened to your mother?" Hale asks gently. "Cancer," Marcus says, throat tight. "Last year." "And school?" "I was in 11th when I had to leave." He shrugs. "Without an address on file, he said they couldn't keep me enrolled." Hale's jaw tightens. "Yet when you saw someone in trouble, you stopped. Even knowing it would cost you a day's work. Even when the police treated you like a suspect." "It was the right thing to do," Marcus says. "It feels simple and obvious." "The right thing," Hale repeats softly. "People say that a lot. Doing it? That's rarer." He reaches for a folder on his bedside table. "I've been making some calls." Marcus sits a little straighter. "There's a youth leadership initiative funded through military outreach," Hale explains. "Housing. Help finishing school. Career training. I'd like to recommend you for immediate placement." Hope surges so fast it hurts. Marcus grips the chair arms to keep from floating right out of the room. In the meantime, Hale continues, "We can arrange safe temporary housing today. Get you off that freeway." He pulls out several papers. "I know it's a lot to process." "Why?" The word jumps out before Marcus can stop it. "Sir." Hale's gaze softens. "Because you showed character when it wasn't rewarded. Because you kept your dignity in circumstances that strip most people of it. Because..." He pauses, choosing words. "Because I've spent my life in a system that claims to prize integrity, yet somehow keeps stepping over kids like you as if you're part of the sidewalk." A nurse appears in the doorway, clipboard in hand. Hale waves her off. "2 more minutes, please." "I'm not offering charity," he says. "I'm offering opportunity. There's a difference." "Yes, sir," Marcus says. "I understand. Do you have questions?" Marcus swallows. "The others? At the camp? Some are veterans. They served. They deserve help more than I do." Hale's brows lift, impressed. "We'll get to them," he promises. "But right now we're talking about you. You're 17. You should be worrying about algebra and bad haircuts, not whether your tent will still be there when you get back." He nods toward the papers. "This is a way out. Housing. A future. Will you take it?" Marcus nods, fingers closing around the forms. Heavy with possibility. A nurse appears with a duffel. "The items you requested, General." "Thank you." Hale motions to it. "Clean clothes. Toiletries. There's a bathroom down the hall where you can change before you go with Lieutenant Cooper. He'll handle the housing." Marcus stands, clutching the bag. "Thank you, sir. I don't know how to." "Thank me by succeeding," Hale says gently. "Show them what I already see." At the door, Marcus pauses. "Sir," he asks quietly, "what you said yesterday. About not letting them forget the men." Hale's eyes cloud for a moment, then clear. "We'll talk about that soon," he says. "For now, get settled." In the bathroom, Marcus sheds his street-stiff clothes and pulls on jeans that have never known dirt, a brand-new t-shirt, real socks, shoes with actual tread. In the mirror, he looks like some alternate version of himself. Lieutenant Cooper waits in the hall. "Housing office has space," he says. "Temporary but safe. We'll grab food on the way." By that night, Marcus has a key card to room 312 in a 5-story brick building. A bed with crisp white sheets. A door that locks. A shower with hot water that doesn't run out in 30 seconds. He stands in the middle of the small, clean room, afraid to move in case it disappears. In the cafeteria, he hesitates before the line of steaming trays until a staffer smiles. Chicken or fish, Han? He takes chicken. Potatoes. Vegetables. A roll. Eats alone at a corner table, watching other residents talk and laugh like this is normal. Back upstairs, he stares at the small TV on the wall. The news shows footage of General Hale being discharged from the hospital. Retired 4-star General Robert Hale, whose distinguished military career spans 4 decades, is recovering after collapsing downtown yesterday, the anchor says. He was aided by a passing civilian. Passing civilian. One line. That's all he gets. He clicks the TV off. He didn't help for recognition. But being flattened into a background extra in someone else's story stings in a way he can't quite name. He dials a number from memory on the communal phone in the hall. Marcus. Ms. Loretta's voice comes through, thin but warm. Lord, we were worried when that fancy car took you. I'm okay, he assures her. They gave me a room. He describes it, bed, bathroom, dinner, feeling almost guilty as he speaks. Doesn't feel real, he admits. But it is real, she says firmly. And you earned it with that good heart of yours. He can hear the camp behind her. Traffic overhead. Someone's radio. Laughter edged with weariness. The news people came by, she adds. All about the general. War hero saved by Good Samaritan. Barely a word about you being homeless. Maybe that's better, Marcus says. Less heat on the camp. Maybe so, she agrees. You get some rest now. In that real bed of yours. He does. For the first time in months, he lies down without listening for footsteps or sirens. Still, sleep takes time. His mind keeps circling the same questions. What now? What next? And what about them? A week later, he walks into a glass and steel building downtown in clothes the outreach team bought for him. Dark slacks, blue button-down, shoes without a single scuff. Just be yourself, Lieutenant Cooper tells him. That's what got you here. The Youth Leadership Program's conference room smells like coffee and optimism. 7 candidates sit around the table, folders neatly stacked in front of them. We're thrilled to have you, the administrator beams, pearls catching the light. Slides on the wall show smiling graduates in caps and gowns, in offices, in uniforms. Marcus flips through his folder. Application. Housing details. Education plans. It's everything he's dreamed of in paper form. During the break, staff drift his way bright-eyed. We all saw the news about General Hale, a counselor says. Such an inspiring story. His recovery fund has doubled, another notes. The veteran community really rallied. Marcus nods, uncomfortable. I just helped. As the day goes on, he notices the temperature change. Voices shorter. Smiles tighter. A secretary abruptly clicks her screen off when he approaches. An afternoon session covers background checks. We conduct thorough reviews, the administrator explains. Criminal history, finances, prior addresses. Prior addresses. Marcus thinks of no fixed address on that officer's clipboard. Of shelter intakes. Of the time he ran from a sweep. His phone buzzes with texts from unknown numbers. News outlets wanting his redemption story. Others digging for his troubled past. He ignores them. Near the end of the day, he hears 2 staffers whisper by the copier. Background came back. Complicated situation. Liability issues. But the general's recommendation. We can't take that kind of risk. At 4:45, his phone rings. Program administration. Mr. Hill, the administrator says, voice softened by professional regret. We're placing your acceptance on hold, pending further review. Additional verification is needed. Standard procedure in cases with limited documentation. No timeline. No promises. Thank you for letting me know, he manages, voice steady somehow. He rides the bus back to his temporary room, folder of dreams heavier than any backpack. That night, the bed feels less like a gift and more like a borrowed thing that could vanish. 2 days later, he steps off the bus near the overpass and feels his stomach drop. Bright orange notices scream from every column. Notice of immediate removal. Vacate in 48 hours. Remaining belongings will be disposed of. They came right after you left this morning, someone calls. Like they were waiting. People are already packing what little they own into trash bags and busted suitcases. Others just sit, hollow-eyed, belongings piled at their feet. Where are we supposed to go? An old vet asks no one. Shelters are full. Before Marcus can answer, voices rise at the street. A small knot of protesters has gathered, waving signs. No more handouts. Stop playing the race card. There he is, someone shouts. The one who started this. A news van swings into view. A reporter jumps out, makeup perfect, microphone in hand. Mr. Hill, she calls, hurrying toward him. Care to comment on allegations you're exploiting General Hale's kindness for personal gain? Marcus steps between her and the camp. Please, he says quietly, leave them out of this. They haven't done anything wrong. A woman in a tailored pantsuit approaches, badge flashing. Deputy Housing Director Ella Morris. Her expression is the kind that's been practiced in mirrors, concerned but controlled. Mr. Hill, she says smoothly, may we speak in private? In a corner by a concrete barrier, she lays out the city's offer. Immediate private housing. Case management. A fresh start away from all this unfortunate attention. All they need is his cooperation with narrative management. He glances at a boy helping his grandmother stuff pills into a grocery bag. At Mike, the vet who's only just managed to stop shaking. What about them? Marcus asks. The city has protocols, Morris replies. We're committed to compassionate relocation. But we can fast-track your case, given the circumstances. He hears the unspoken deal. Safety as long as he stops making noise. These people taught me how to survive, he says. Ms. Loretta shared her blanket my first night. Mr. James showed me which stores give out day-old bread. They're not numbers to clear. Progress requires difficult choices, Morris counters. Don't let misplaced loyalty derail your future. Engines rumble. A bulldozer and dump trucks park at the edge of the camp. Workers in vests unload rolls of orange fencing. My future. Marcus looks back at the tents, at the people. You're looking at it. They're part of it. He walks away from her. Residents start lining up, not to be processed, but to stand with him. Ms. Loretta with her cane. Mr. James in his faded vet's cap. The young mother balancing a toddler on her hip. Together, they form a quiet barrier between their community and the machines. Cameras move in close. Protesters chant. Police hover at the edges. The bulldozer idles, engine growling like an animal waiting for a signal. What are you hoping to achieve? A reporter asks, shoving a microphone toward him. The same thing everyone wants, Marcus says, gaze fixed on the blade. A chance to live with dignity. The next morning, just before dawn, city trucks roll back in. Workers climb out with clipboards. Tents rustle awake. Fear hangs like fog. Mr. Hill, a woman from the housing authority says, finding him again. Different badge. Same tone. We've secured an individual unit for you. Private room. Kitchen access. Case management. We can move you today. What about everyone else? He asks. Standard protocols. The shelters are full, he cuts in. You know that. This is an opportunity for you, she insists. Don't let complications here hold you back. Across the camp, workers swipe orange X's on tent flaps. Mike paces tight circles, breathing sharp and shallow. It's not misplaced loyalty, Marcus says quietly. It's human dignity, and that shouldn't be reserved for a select few. I hope you understand what you're turning down, she says. I do, he replies. That's why I'm turning it down. Reporters catch the tail end, seam of stories scented in the air. Microphones swing. Cameras turn. These people shared their food when I was hungry, Marcus says, voice low but clear. Watched my back when I was sick. Taught me how to survive with dignity. I won't accept safety that demands I abandon them. Mr. Hill, someone shouts. Are you refusing housing? I'm refusing to pretend some people deserve dignity more than others, he answers. Mr. Hill. The new voice cuts through the rising noise. A man in a crisp uniform moves through the crowd, flanked by 2 officers in dress blues. Lieutenant Cooper. The general requests your immediate presence, he says. Regarding this housing situation. Transport is waiting. Marcus looks back at his people. At orange X's, trembling hands, hopeful eyes. They'll still be clearing the camp, he says warily. His last brush with opportunity ended with a polite phone call and a slammed door. The general specifically said this was urgent to prevent that, Cooper says. He asked me to assure you this is not a diversion. Ms. Loretta squeezes his arm. Go, baby. You stood up for us. See what that standing up stirred. Marcus nods. Climbs into the waiting car. As it pulls away, he presses his palm to the window, watching the only home he has vanish in the side mirror. He doesn't know if he's going toward help or another kind of betrayal. But he knows he couldn't have stayed and done nothing. The government building smells like coffee, paper, and polished stone. Marcus's sneakers squeak faintly on marble floors as Lieutenant Cooper leads him through bright hallways lined with portraits. They stop at a thick door, Conference Room B. Inside, General Hale sits at the head of a long table. He looks smaller than before, illness carving new lines into his face, but his posture is still pure military. Marcus, he says, gesturing to a chair. Thank you for coming. Marcus sits, hands folded to keep from fidgeting. I owe you some explanations, Hale says. And an apology. You don't owe. Let me speak while I still can. Hale cuts in not unkindly. He opens a thick folder. Numbers. Charts. Highlighted lines. What you're seeing at the camp, the sudden urgency, the pulled opportunities, the media spin, it's not coincidence, he says. It's panic. He taps a page. 5 years ago, Congress approved significant funding for veterans' housing and support. Money intended for people exactly like the ones in your camp. At least 30% of your residents are vets, you know that. Marcus thinks of Mike, of the older guys who sometimes wake up shouting names. Those funds were diverted, Hale continues. Shifted through sham programs and shell companies. Millions meant for roofs and caseworkers vanished into private pockets. He slides the paper closer. Marcus doesn't fully understand the numbers, but he understands highlighted lines labeled transfer. Consulting. Administrative overhead. I started asking questions 2 years ago, Hale says. Quietly. Carefully. Every step forward hit resistance. Lost files. Reassigned staff. Budget audits aimed at me. He takes a slow breath. His hand trembles slightly as he lifts his glass. The day you found me, I wasn't just taking a walk. I was leaving a meeting with a contact who'd given me final proof. I pushed too hard. Ignored my doctor. My body called in the debt. He slides a worn photograph out of the folder. The same one Marcus saw in that suit pocket. Those are my men, Hale says. Afghanistan. 3 of them have spent nights under overpasses like yours. 2 still do. While systems and speeches talk about support, they sleep on concrete. His voice tightens. I failed them. This system failed them. But you're trying to fix it, Marcus says quietly. Yes. But cautiously. Too cautiously, maybe. Hale's gaze sharpens. Then a 17-year-old kid stopped on a sidewalk when everyone else kept walking. And suddenly the story couldn't be buried as easily. He leans forward. I am testifying before Congress next week. I'm taking this corruption public. Numbers. Everything. Marcus's mind jumps back to the camp. Bulldozers. Orange notices. Will it be soon enough? He asks. With your help, Hale says. Yes. He holds out another paper. I want you to testify too. Not as a symbol or a prop. Just as yourself. Tell them what you've seen. What it means when the money they sign off on never reaches the sidewalk. Marcus stares at the summons. At the emblem at the top. They'll twist what I say, he says slowly. Make it about politics. Or shout each other down and call it debate. They'll try, Hale agrees. But I've seen you, Marcus. I watched how you handled those cameras, those city officials. You speak plain. You don't perform. That scares them more than any speech I can give. Silence stretches. Marcus sees Mike's shaking hands. Ms. Loretta's thin blanket. Kids hunched over schoolwork under streetlight glow. When do they want me? He asks. Monday, Hale says. Lieutenant Cooper will handle everything. Marcus traces the edge of the paper. With respect, sir, there is shame in protecting yourself. Sometimes. If the cost is everyone else. Hale's tired face breaks into something like pride. You're a better man than most I served with, Marcus Hill. No, sir, Marcus replies. Just someone who can't walk past anymore. In a community center a few miles away, the camp crowds around a crooked TV, watching CS-BAN's blue logo flicker into a live shot. General Hale sits at a long table, uniform immaculate, medals bearing quiet witness. Lawmakers ring him, faces sober under harsh lights. General Hale, the chairman intones. State your purpose. I'm here, Hale says into the microphone, voice steady as ever, to expose a systematic betrayal of our veterans and our most vulnerable citizens through deliberate misappropriation of housing funds. He walks them through it. Dates. Figures. Programs that exist only on paper. Buildings that never got built. Names of companies paid millions to provide services no one can find. Nearly $40 million, he concludes. Over 5 years. While men and women who wore this nation's uniforms sleep under bridges. Lawmakers shift. Clears throats. Check phones. But numbers aren't enough, Hale says. You need to hear from someone living the consequences of your signatures. He tells them about Marcus. The sidewalk. The jacket under his head. The calm in the face of police suspicion. He put my life above his own safety, Hale says. He showed more integrity in one moment than this system has shown him in 17 years. The chairman confers with an aide, then looks up. We'd like to call Marcus Hill. On the grainy TV, Marcus appears in an ill-fitting borrowed suit, tie slightly crooked, eyes clear. The camp goes silent. Mr. Hill, a senator says. Can you describe conditions in your encampment? Marcus doesn't embellish. Doesn't dramatize. He just speaks. He talks about vets who can't get through broken phone trees. Elders choosing between medicine and food. Kids walking extra miles to use public library Wi-Fi for homework. He tells them about rains that seep under tarps. About police sweeps that reduce homes to piles of trash in minutes. About sharing his last granola bar with Ms. Loretta. And why, another lawmaker asks, did you stop for General Hale that day when so many others did not? Marcus thinks of cars flowing like water around a rock. Of blue lips and tremoring fingers. Because he needed help, he says. And that's all anyone needs to know. The simplicity hangs there, heavy. For a moment, even the politicians are quiet. By late afternoon, breaking news banners scroll beneath the live feed. Emergency injunction halts encampment clearance. Federal auditors dispatched to review veterans' funds. At the community center, the room erupts. People clap. Hug whoever's closest. They can't just bulldoze us now, Mike says, almost in disbelief. Not till they answer some questions. Ray agrees, eyes bright in a way Marcus has never seen. When Marcus steps out of a government sedan at the edge of the camp at dusk, his suit jacket slung over one arm, they're waiting. One person starts clapping. Then another. Soon the sound bounces off concrete and steel, raw, uneven but real. Ms. Loretta pulls him into a hug that smells like instant coffee and laundry soap. Mike snaps a sharp salute. Others just nod, that quiet respect of people who know how much it costs to tell the truth where power can hear it. They can stay. Not forever. But long enough for something better to be built in place of fear. Weeks pass. Where tents once trembled under freeway winds, construction fences now stand. Temporary housing units, humble but solid, are craned into place. Family units along this row, a city worker says, holding out a clipboard. Need your sign-off, Mr. Hill. Marcus scans the map. There's his title in print, Youth Community Liaison. Put the bigger units closer to the kitchen, he says. Easier for parents with little ones. And Ms. Loretta needs ground level. Her knees won't do stairs. The worker writes it down. No argument. In a trailer that serves as a temporary office, job counselors help residents build resumes around gaps and survival skills. Social workers schedule therapy sessions. A mobile clinic runs blood pressure checks and refills prescriptions. Work is messy and slow. Mistakes happen. Forms get lost. But for the first time, systems seem more interested in serving than sweeping. Looking good, comes that familiar rough warm voice. General Hale approaches along the gravel, leaning heavily on a cane. His uniform is replaced by a simple jacket today. Illness has stolen weight from him, but not the steel from his spine. Didn't know you were coming, Marcus says, straightening without thinking. Had to see it, the general replies, eyes scanning the new buildings. 6 weeks ago, this was all supposed to be rubble. He nods toward a cluster of kids chasing a soccer ball across a packed earth courtyard. You get that final clearance from the leadership program? He asks. Yesterday, Marcus says. They re-evaluated my file. I'm officially in. As you should be. Hale's approval is obvious. But I suspect you're already deep into your real curriculum. That's right. Marcus has learned to mediate between a contractor and 3 residents over storage space. To translate bureaucratic language into words that don't scare people. To catch cracks people might fall through and widen them into doors instead. He still sleeps at the temporary facility, but most days he's here from sunup till well after dark. Later, after a meeting where Deputy Director Morris grudgingly agrees, on record, that current residents will get first pick of the permanent units, Marcus walks the site alone. Foundation markers stab up from level ground. Real walls will rise where his blue tarp once flapped. He remembers lying there, counting leaks, wondering if doing the right thing was ever going to mean anything more than an empty stomach and extra trouble. Now cranes swing overhead. Concrete cures. Kids play tag around stacks of lumber. Not a miracle. Months roll forward. Autumn paints the city in sharp light and cold shadows. On a chilly morning, a simple banner hangs over a new glass door. Community Resource and Learning Center. Grand opening today. Marcus arrives early, straightening folding chairs in a bright multipurpose room. He's refused cameras, politicians, speeches. This place is for the people who'll depend on it, not those who'll pose in front of it. Through the big front windows, he sees movement. A skinny kid, maybe 14, hovering near the sidewall. Clothes worn but clean. Backpack too light to hold books. Eyes scanning for exits. Marcus recognizes the posture of someone who's been sleeping wherever he can without anyone noticing. The boy freezes when he realizes Marcus has seen him. Shoulders tense. Ready to run. Marcus stays where he is. Doesn't chase. Doesn't stare. Just reaches into his bag, pulls out an apple and a granola bar, and sets them on the bench near the door. Breakfast, he says casually, looking away. Kitchen won't start serving for another hour. For a long minute, nothing happens. Then quick footsteps. Rustle. The boy snatches the food and steps back out of reach. I'm Marcus, he says, still rearranging chairs like this is no big deal. Used to sleep under the overpass that was here. For real? The boy asks around a mouthful of granola. For real, Marcus answers. Almost a year. But now you, work here? Skepticism and hope wrestle in the kid's voice. Something like that, Marcus says. Then, gently, what's your name? The pause. Tommy, the kid says finally. How long you been couch hopping, Tommy? Marcus asks softly. Running out of places you can crash without questions? Tommy's eyes flick to the street, to Marcus, to the building. He doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Marcus shrugs off his jacket. Same battered windbreaker he laid under a stranger's head on 5th Street, patched and washed but still his. He holds it out. Here. I don't need, Tommy starts. I know you don't need charity, Marcus says. Maybe you just need to know somebody actually sees you. The boy's hands tremble as he takes the jacket. He pulls it tight around him, like it might fall away if he doesn't hold on. Inside, staff flick lights on. Coffee brews. Someone laughs down the hall. The smell of pancakes starts to drift out. They really help people in there? Tommy asks, trying to sound like he doesn't care too much about the answer. They do, Marcus says. But more important, they help people help themselves. There's dignity in that. A car door slams somewhere nearby. Tommy flinches. I should go, he mutters. You should come inside, Marcus counters, voice gentle. Just to warm up. No one's gonna make you sign anything. There's coffee. Pancakes if you're lucky. Tommy hovers at the threshold, tension coiled to run. That's how it starts, Marcus says quietly. One small choice at a time. He doesn't push. Just opens the door and steps aside. After a long moment, Tommy crosses it. Quick and quiet, like someone who isn't sure they're allowed. Ms. Loretta stands at the front desk arranging a small vase of supermarket flowers, hands still twisted but steadier now. She spots Marcus, then Tommy, and just smiles. Morning, she says. We've got fresh coffee and the good syrup today. Tommy looks around, at the bulletin board listing GED classes, job fairs, counseling hours, at the computer lab where 2 kids already hunch over homework, at the big, warm kitchen where volunteers flip pancakes on a griddle. Marcus watches his expression change. From suspicion to curiosity. From tight-held fear to something that might one day become trust. Come on, Marcus says. Let's get you a plate. As they walk toward the smell of coffee and batter, Marcus glances back through the glass doors. Outside, the city rushes on. Cars stream past, eyes forward. Most people don't see the building, the boy, the man who once was just a passing civilian. They don't have to. He remembers blue lips on a cold sidewalk. A whisper, don't let them forget the men. He thinks of all the choices since then. The times he could have walked past, said yes when it would have been easier, said no when it cost him. Help someone who needs it. That's all anyone needs to know. Inside, the center hums to life. The day begins. And Marcus Hill, 17 once, homeless once, invisible once, keeps doing the one thing that started it all. He refuses to walk past.